guys, Lord Sci-Fi here, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to continue reading the Revenge of the Sith novel. Alright, so we're going to start at page 70. If I can see the words. Okay, there we go. To meet his hand in perfect synchrony with a sweeping slash. My powers have doubled since the last time we met. How lovely for you, Duke nearly sidestepped, cutting at the boy's leg. Yet Skywalker's blade met the cut as he passed, and he managed to sweep his blade behind his head to slap aside the casual thrust. Dooku. Alright, guys, I can't see a thing right now. Turn that light on. There we go. We're gonna continue going, guys. Continue reading. Alright. Not the cut as he passed, and he managed to sweep his blade behind his head to slap aside the casual thrust. Dooku aimed at the back of his neck, but his clumsy charge had put him in Kenobi's path, so that the Jedi Master had to force roll over his partner's head directly at Dooku's upraised blade. Kenobi drove a slash at the scarlet blade while he pivoted in the air, and again Dooku sidestepped, so that now it was Kenobi in Skywalker's way. Really, Dooku said, "This is pathetic." Oh, they were certainly energetic enough, leaping and whirling, raining blows almost at random, cutting chairs to pieces and force hurling them in every conceivable direction, while Dooku continued in his gracefully methodical way to outmaneuver them so thoroughly it was all he could do to keep from laughing out loud. It was a simple matter of countering their tactics, which were depressingly straightforward. Skywalker was the swift one, whooshing here and there like a spastic hawkbat, attempting a Jedi variant of Neek in the middle so they could come at him from both sides, while Kenobi came on in a measured Shicho cadence, deliberate as a lumber droid, moving step by step, cutting off the angles clumsily but relentlessly dogged as he tried to chivvy Dooku into a corner. Whereas all Dooku need to do was to slip from one side to another and occasionally flip over a head here and there so that he could fight each of them in turn rather than both of them at the same time. He supposed that in their own milieu they might actually prove reasonably effective. It was clear that their style had been developed by fighting as a team against large numbers of opponents. They were not prepared to fight together against a single force user, certainly not one of Dooku's power. He, on the other hand, had always fought alone. It was laughably easy to keep the Jedi tripping and stumbling and getting in each other's way. They didn't even comprehend how utterly he dominated the combat, because they fought as they had been trained, by releasing all desire and allowing the Force to flow through them. They had no hope of countering Dooku's mastery of Sith techniques. They had learned nothing since he had bested them on Geonosis. They allowed the Force to direct them. Dooku directed the Force. He drew their strikes to his parries and drove his own ripostes. Thrusts of dark power that subtly altered the Jedi's balance and disrupted their timing. He could have slaughtered both of them as casually as that creature Maul had destroyed the Vigos of the Black Sun. However, only one death was in his plan, and this dumb show was becoming tiresome, not to mention tiring. The dark power that served him went only so far, and he was, after all, not a young man. He leaned into a thrust of Kenobi's gut that the Jedi Master deflected with a rising parry, bringing them chest to chest, blades flaring, locked together. You're a handbreadth together a handbreadth from each other's throats. Your moves are too slow, Kenobi. Too predictable. You will have to do better. Kenobi's response to his friendly word was to regard him with a twinkle of gentle amusement in his eye. Very well, then, the Jedi said, and shot straight upward over Dooku's head so fast it seemed he'd vanished, and in the space where Kenobi's chest had been was now only the blue lightning of Skywalker's blade driving straight for Dooku's heart. Only a desperate whirl to one side made what would have been a smoking hole in his chest into a line of scorch through his armor-weaved cloak. Dooku thought, what? He threw himself spinning up and away from the two Jedi to land on the situation table, disengaging for a moment to recover his composure that had been entirely too close. But by the time his boots touched down, Kenobi was there to meet him, his blade weaving through a defensive velocity so bewilderingly fast that Dooku dared not even try a strike. He threw a feint toward Kenobi's face, then dropped and spun in a reverse ankle sweep. But not only did Kenobi easily overleap this attack, Dooku nearly lost his own foot to a slash from Skywalker, who had again come out of nowhere and now carved through the table so that it collapsed under Dooku's weight and dumped the Sith Lord unceremoniously to the floor. This was not in the plan. Skywalker slammed his following strike down so hard that the shock of deflecting it buckled Dooku's elbow. Dooku threw himself into a back roll that brought him to his feet, and Kenobi's blade was there to meet his neck. Only a desperate whirling slash block coupled with a heel kick that caught Kenobi on the thigh bought him enough time to leap away again. And when he touched down, Skywalker was already there. The first overhand chop of Skywalker's blade slid off Dooku's instinctive guard. The second bent Dooku's wrist. The third flash of blue forced Dooku's scarlet blade so far to the inside that his own lightsaber scorched his shoulder, and Dooku was forced to give ground. Alright, guys, I believe we're back. Sorry it took me I was gone for a little bit, but alright, guys, so I'm gonna finish this video. I know I'm sick today, guys, just to let you know. I've been sick for a little bit. I think we're gonna continue going. Alright, scorched his shoulder. He was forced to give ground. Dooku felt himself blanch. Where had this come from? Maybe Skywalker came on mechanically. Did I skip anything? Yep, okay. Dooku felt himself blanch. Where did this come from? Skywalker came on mechanically, inexorable, and possibly powerful. A destroyer droid with a lightsaber, each step a blow, and each blow a step. Dooku backed away as fast as he dared. Skywalker stayed right on top of him. Dooku's breath went short and hard, but he no longer tried to block Skywalker's strikes, but only to guide them slanting away. He could not meet Skywalker's strength to strike. Not only did the boy wield tremendous reserves of force energy, but his sheer physical power was astonishing. And only then did Dooku understand that he'd been suckered. Skywalker's shin-ready stance had been a ruse, as had his Ataro's gymnastics. The boy was a gym show stylist, and as fine a one as Dooku had ever seen. His own elegant Makashi simply did not generate this kinetic power to meet gym show head-to-head, especially not while also defending against a second attacker. It was time to alter his own tactics. He dropped low and spun into another reverse ankle sweep. The weakness of Gem Show was its lack of mobility that slapped Skywalker's boots sharply enough to throw the young Jedi off balance, giving Dooku the opportunity to leap away, only to find himself again facing the wheel of blue lightning that was Kenobi's blade. Dooku decided that the comedy had ended. Now it was time to kill. Kenobi's master had been Qui-Gon Jinn, Dooku's own Padawan. Dooku had fenced Qui-Gon thousands of times, and he knew every weakness of the Ataru form. With its ridiculous acrobatics, he drove a series of flashing thrusts toward Kenobi's legs to draw the Jedi Master to a flipping overhead leap so that Dooku could burn through his spine from kidneys to shoulder blades. And this image, this plan, so clear in Dooku's mind that He almost failed to notice that Kenobi met every one of his thrusts without so much as moving his feet. Staying perfectly centered, perfectly balanced, blade never moving a millimeter more than was necessary. Deflecting without effort, posting with flickering strikes and stabs swifter than the tongue of a Garolian ghost viper, and when Dooku felt Skywalker regain his feet and stride once more toward his back, he finally registered the source of that blinding defensive velocity Kenobi had used a moment ago, and only then, belatedly, he did understand that Kenobi's Ataru and Shicho had been ploys as well. Kenobi had become a master of Sarisu. Dooku found himself having a sudden, unexpected overpowering and suddenly an entirely distressing bad feeling about this. His farce had suddenly inexplicably spun from humorous to deadly serious and was tumbling rapidly toward him. Terrifying realization burst through Dooku's consciousness like the blossoming fireballs of dying ships outside. This pair of Jedi fools had somehow managed to become entirely dangerous. These clowns might just possibly actually be able to beat him. No sense taking chances. Even his master would agree with that. Lord Sidious could come up with a new plan more easily than a new apprentice. He gathered the Force once more in a single indrawn breath that summoned power from throughout the universe. Alright guys, we're back. I'm sorry, I had to do something real quick, so we're going to continue filming. Let's get to it. The frick? Oh yeah, I just finished. Universe. The slightest whip crack of that power, elegant as a flick of his wrist, sent Kenobi flying backwards to crash hard against the wall, but Dooku didn't have time to enjoy it. Skywalker was all over him. The shining blue lightsaber whirled and spat, and every overhand chop crashed against Dooku's defense with the unstoppable power of a meteor strike. The Sith Lord spent lavishly of his reserve of the Force merely to meet these attacks without being cut in half, and Skywalker was getting stronger. Each parry cost Dooku more power than he'd used to throw Kenobi across the room. Each block aged him a decade. He decided he'd best revise his strategy once again. He no longer even tried to strike back. Force exhaustion began to close down his perceptions, drawing his consciousness back down to his physical form, trapping him within his own skull until he could barely even feel the contours of the room around him. He dimly sensed stairs at his back, stairs that led up to the entrance balcony. He retreated up them, using the higher ground for leverage, but Skywalker just kept on coming, tirelessly ferocious. The blue blade was everywhere, flashing and rolling faster and faster until Dooku saw the room through an electric haze, and now Kenobi was back in the picture. With a shout of the Force, he shot like a torpedo up the stairs behind Skywalker. And Dooku decided that under these rather extreme circumstances, it was at least inarguably permissible for a gentleman to cheat. "Guards," he said to the pair of super battle droids that stood at attention to either side of the entrance. "Open fire." Instantly, the two droids sprang forward and lifted their hands. Energy hammered out from the heavy blasters built into their arms. Skywalker whirled, and his blade batted every blast back at the droids, whose mirror-polished carapace armor deflected the bolts again. Galvan particle beams screeched through the room in blinding ricochets. Kenobi reached the top of the stairs, and a single slash of his lightsaber dismantled both droids before their pieces can even hit a spinning. Oh frick! Since could even hit the floor, Dooku was in motion, landing a spinning side stamp that folded Skywalker in half. He used his last burst of dark power to continue his spin into a blindingly fast mule kick that brought his heel against the point of Kenobi's chin with a crack, like the report of a huge boar slug thrower knocking the Jedi Master back down the stairs. Sounded like he'd broken his neck. Wouldn't that be lovely? There was no sense in taking chances, however. While Kenobi's bonelessly limp body was still tumbling toward the floor far below. Dooku sent a surge of energy through the Force. Kenobi's fall suddenly accelerated like a missile, burning the last of its drives before impact. The Jedi Master struck the floor at a steep angle, skidded along it, and slammed into the wall so hard the hydrofoam permacrete buckled and collapsed onto him. This Dooku found exceedingly gratifying. Now, as for Skywalker, which was as far as Dooku got, because by the time his attention returned to the younger Jedi, his vision was rather completely obstructed by the sole of a boot, approaching his face with something resembling terminal velocity. The impact was a blast of white fire, and there was a second impact against his back that was the balcony rail, and then the room turned upside down, and he fell toward the ceiling, but not really. Of course, it only felt that way because he had flipped over the rail and he was falling headfirst toward the floor, and neither his arms nor his legs were paying any attention to what he was trying to make them do. The Force seemed to be busy elsewhere, and really the whole process was entirely mortifying. He was barely able to summon a last surge of dark power before what would have been a disabling impact. The Force cradled him, cushioning his fall and setting him on his feet. He dusted himself off and fixed a super-callous gaze on Skywalker, who now stood upon the balcony looking down at him, and Dooku couldn't hold the stare. He found this reversal of their original positions oddly unsettling. There was something troublingly appropriate about it. Seeing Skywalker standing where Dooku himself had stood only moments ago, it was as though he was trying to remember a dream he'd never actually had. He pushed this aside, drawing once more upon this certain knowledge of his personal invisibility to open a channel to the Force. Power flowed into him, and the weight of his years dropped away. He lifted his blade and beckoned. Skywalker leapt from the balcony. Even as the boy hurtled downward, Dooku felt a new twist in the currents of the Force between them, and he finally understood. He understood how Skywalker was getting stronger, why he no longer spoke, how he had become a machine of battle. He understood why Sidious had been so interested in him for so long. Skywalker was a natural. There was a thermonuclear furnace where his heart should be, and it was burning through the firewalls of his Jedi training. He held the Force in the clench of a white-hot fist. He was half Sith already, and he didn't even know it. This boy had the gift of fury, and even now he was holding himself back. Even now, as he landed at Dooku's flank and rained blows upon the Sith Lord's defenses, even as he drove Dooku backward, step after step, Dooku could feel how Skywalker kept his fury banked behind walls of will. Walls that were hardened by some uncontrollably dread. Dooku's awareness of himself, of what might happen if he should ever allow that furnace he used for a heart to go supercritical. Dooku slipped aside from an overhand chop and sprang backward. I sense great fear in you. You are consumed by it. Hero with no fear indeed. You're a fraud, Skywalker. You are nothing but a post-Turing child. He pointed his lightsaber at the young Jedi like an accusing figure. Aren't you a little old to be afraid of the dark? Skywalker leapt firm again, and this time Dooku met the boy's charge easily. They stood nearly toe-to-toe, blades flashing faster than the eye could see. But Skywalker had lost his edge. A simple taunt was all that had been required to shift the focus of his attention from winning the fight to controlling his own emotions. The angrier he got, the more afraid he became, and the fear fed his anger in turn, like the proverbial Corellian millipede. Now that he had started thinking about it, what he was doing, he could no longer walk. Dooku allowed himself to relax. He felt that spirit of playfulness coming over him again as he and Skywalker spun around each other in their lethal dance. Whatever fun was to be had, he should enjoy while he could. Then Sidious, for some reason, decided to intervene. Don't fear what you're feeling, Anakin. Use it. He barked in Palpatine's voice. Call upon your fury. Focus it, and he cannot stand against you. Rage is your weapon. Strike now. Strike. Kill him. Dooku thought blankly. kill me. He and Skywalker paused for one single final instant. Blades locked together, staring at each other past a sizzling cross of scarlet against blue. And in that instant, Dooku found himself wondering in bewildered astonishment if Sidious had suddenly lost his mind. Didn't he understand the advice he'd just given? Whose side was he on anyway? And through the cross of their blades, he saw in Skywalker's eyes the promise of hell, and he felt a sickening presentiment that he already knew the answer to that question. Treachery is the way of the Sith. Well, that's we're on chapter 4 now. I read I perfectly read 80 pages. We've read 80 pages so far, and guys, I know that I took so many breaks, but I just got a new package for Skate Bros, my scooter and skateboard channel. I got a new better micro SD card for my HLS action camera, but I'm trying to format it now. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I looked it up on YouTube, didn't work, so I don't know why it's not working after I format it, put it in my camera. It doesn't work. I think since I formatted it so many times, I turn it on again. Maybe it might work. That's another time with my Xbox or whatever. I don't know if it's not probably not the same thing. But anyways, yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next video.